Welcome back to the channel. My name is Lin, and we need to talk about John Walker. Spoilers ahead, but at the end of episode 4 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Walker dunked that shield like an Oreo into that dude's creamy center. And there are people out there who are defending him. So now we gotta talk about that. Well, let's start with how we got here. Well, John Walker is a three-dimensional, well-written character. I think well-written enough that it's leading to some people defending him and defending his actions. But from the start, the show has shown us that he was always going to go this way. That he's a sympathetic character that has fundamental flaws, that has a darkness in him. So it was always leading up to something like this. So from the start, right, he comes out and he winks at the camera, and we don't have to judge him based on that. It's the first appearance that's designed to be shocking in the context of the show. It's meant to be a dog and pony show that he's participating in and he's just playing a role. But he does seem to be loving it. So let's start with the beginning of the second episode when he's properly introduced. It starts with him slowly unzipping that Captain America suit. It's almost sexual. Look at it in contrast to the beginning of the first episode when Sam was handling the shield. He's, respectful about it, but he's not like fetishizing it. It's on his old blanket in his very lived-in, worn-out room, and he still carried it in the old artist canvas bag that old Cap gave it to him in. After the scene unzipping the new uniform, we immediately cut to Walker touching his old high school locker in the gym, once again very sensually. He peeled off the name of the current occupant of the old locker, and his name is actually etched into it, whereas all the other names are stuck on with little stickers. This already told us that he's a man that is concerned about his legacy. He wants to leave a permanent mark with all his achievements. His wife that come in immediately asks if he's living the glory days. And he is, he admitted. But he is a three-dimensional character. In his introduction, we learn that he wants to be a good Captain America. He wants to live up to the legacy, and he wants to do good things and do his best. But we quickly learn his best isn't good enough, and he has some deep character flaws. He appreciates what the mantle of Captain America means, but he acts like he already earned it just by being given it. He introduced himself to Sam immediately as Captain America, the first time they meet.
Sam, John Walker, Captain America!
If you look back, Cap almost always introduced himself as Steve Rogers. In fact, the first time he met Sam laughs at him because Steve introduced himself as Steve Rogers, and Sam said, "Yeah, I know, I figured it out." Steve is humble, but Walker throws the weight of the title around instead of focusing on earning it. He wants to wield it like a cudgel. You can see it, he considers himself the government.
Kind of the government.
He uses it to bypass laws.
We haven't finished our work. Who authorizes?
He's pissed when he doesn't get respect.
Do you know who I am?
He also wears the uniform way more than Steve, even in a lot of situations where he doesn't need to. How many times have we seen Steve fight just in his civvies with the shield? But since Walker got the title, we only see him once without his uniform. It is tragic how much Walker wants to be a hero. The hero. He wants to be the symbol so much that he's trying to collect Sam and Bucky like trophies, because they were part of Cap's legacy, They're publicly known as his left and right hand man. That's why the Cap's wingman line got that reaction from Sam. Sam is Cap's wingman because Cap's never thought of him as a sidekick or a wingman. He treated him like a friend, so Sam got his back, because he knows Cap is a man worthy of respect. And listen to that line in the truck.
You didn't think that the shield was gonna end up here. I get it, Bucky.
He knows how the shield was tricked away from Sam, but he still signed up to be part of all of that. And notice how the GRC and the US government is manipulating the narrative? So Sam gave away that shield to the Smithsonian in a public ceremony, right? One that will surely have reporters reporting on it. Sam is also a well-known Avenger, so they know it's public knowledge that they took the shield from Sam and gave it to Walker. They know that at least a portion of the population would be talking about how they tricked a black man to give the legacy of Captain America to a white man. They know about those optics, and look how they try to change the narrative. He's introduced with a jazzy marching band cover of the Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, using a mostly black marching band. He enters the interview high-fiving a black guy. Walker's and Lamar's friendship clearly seems genuine. There's a real brotherhood there. But why was Lamar made his partner, or let's face it, his sidekick? And why were they chosen as a pair? It's plausible deniability bullshit for good optics. Black people are being used by the GRC and the government as accessories on display to cover their ass. Now, I'm not saying there's a white hood in Walker's closet, but he's either naive enough to not realize the implications of what's being done here, or he's callous enough to know but not care because he wants to take the title of Captain America. And he has the nerve to try and collect Sam like a sidekick. He wants to use Sam and Bucky like accessories to legitimize his title as Captain America. The fact that that's what he's trying to do is apparent in how he reacts when he's sure they won't join him. Yes, they've been butting heads, and Bucky especially have been antagonizing him. But Sam was entirely reasonable and level-headed when he told Walker they shouldn't walk together, and why. But look at how Walker reacted when he realized that he's not gonna get Bucky and Sam on their side.
Stay the hell out of my way.
There was no need for that. Walker just got it backwards, you know? Instead of wanting to do good so he can be a hero, he wants to collect all these achievements and be recognized as a hero so he feel good about his deeds. We can see that in his conversation with Battlestar in Latvia. He clearly has PTSD. Some of his past deeds haunt him, and he thinks becoming a hero would tilt imaginary scale, that it would mark him as a good man. If that's not tragic enough already, listen to what he says when Sam brings up soldiers with PTSD.
I used to counsel soldiers dealing with trauma, okay? This is right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I know, and I know those soldiers, which is why I know this is a bad idea.
He doesn't trust soldiers with PTSD, so it's either self-loathing or lack of insight. Tragic either way. Walker is so obsessed with strength and authority. He thought the title of Cap would give him automatic authority, and he realized it didn't. That civilian disrespect him. Sam and Bucky doesn't recognize him as Cap. At that point, he didn't look inside to see why they don't respect him. He thinks it's because he lacks strength. He thinks if he's strong, a super soldier, then they'll have to comply. Then he'll be right. You can see how he took Bucky's snark wrong. When Bucky said, "This is hard for you, isn't it?" He's saying Walker will never be Captain America like Steve. But he took it to mean that Bucky's saying he's weak. That's why later in Latvia, he came back to this.
This is all really easy for you, isn't it? All that serum running through your veins.
Now at that point, Bucky does realize Walker's complex about being weak, and he does start pushing his button. I mean, I like Bucky, but he clearly hates Walker, and he's not being kind to him. But really, if you look at it, Sam is just a dude with a jetpack. He's not afraid to fight super soldiers one-on-one. He fought worse things, and he's not afraid to try and talk them down. Walker thinks he needs more strength because he thinks he's being bullied by those with strength. And that's because that's what he does to people who he thinks he's stronger than. He throws his position around. He's condescending. That's what he did to the Dora Milaje, and what's his immediate response when he lost?
They weren't even super soldiers.
He's not concerned about his goals or his mission, it's about his strength. This is why he pocketed the serum. Yes, he hesitates and discusses it with Lamar because he's a complex character. He's not a screaming evil man. He has some self-doubt. But he did secretly take it, and he mean to take it, and he keep it secret from Lamar. People are giving him a little bit too much credit for hesitating, wondering whether he's a good man. But another way to look at it is maybe Lamar is not hesitant about wanting to take the serum because he knows who he is deep down. He knows he's a good man. I mean, Lamar is the one who keep repeatedly talking Walkers down from the edge. And when Lamar dies, that's when he lost it. But maybe Walker hesitate because he know how he really is deep inside. Plus, if it is really about the mission, if it is really about needing the strength to match the flag smashers, why not give the vial to Lamar, who said he is willing to take it and who is confident that he won't change? Walker doesn't even tell Lamar about the serum. For him, he is Cap, so he deserved the serum. He didn't even think about empowering Lamar instead. A stark contrast to Sam, who immediately said he doesn't need the serum. Now this leads to my point that, and I know a lot of people are not going to like this term, but at its core, Walker's problem is toxic masculinity. Look, toxic masculinity doesn't mean all masculinity is toxic. It means there are harmful ways to internalize the traditional definition of masculinity in a toxic way. Like, for example, not getting help for your PTSD and mocking and distrusting other victims of PTSD. This is all too common symptom of toxic masculinity. When you think, I can get through emotional turmoil because I'm a strong man, those who can't do that are weak and they're not trustworthy. And the obsessions on achievement, on winning, and not just winning, being recognized for winning, and being obsessed on strength and thinking of failure as weakness. Walker is toxic masculinity poured into a uniform. Considering all of this, where it ended up, the tragedy, there's no other way it could have gone. Now, there are people who are defending Walker's actions. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am, and I'm kind of mad about it. It's fine to find him sympathetic. He is a sympathetic character. I feel sorry for him, and I understand why he did what he did, but to condone his actions, which a lot of people are, is despicable. First of all, the show clearly wants to communicate this as an evil act. It's shot like a horror scene. The music, the reaction, even Walker's body language after, all add up to show that this is an evil, horrific act that Walker just carried out. So remember, that's the action you're defending. The show doesn't agree with you. Secondly, people are acting as if you judge Walker for his actions, you must be supportive of Khali and the flag smashers. This is some kind of bullshit, if you're not with us, you're against us crap. No, the show is communicating that Khali and Walker are two sides of the same coin. They're both trying to use force to get what they want. Khali have crossed the line and killed some innocent people. Walker have also done this horrible murder of an unarmed, surrendering man. But here's the thing. Khali killed Lamar accidentally. It's very obvious. They could have killed him earlier, but they tied him up and left him. When they accidentally killed Lamar, they immediately shot. They had Walker dead to right. He only broke free because they let him go in shock. They just panic and flee because this is the first time Khali have killed somebody with her bare hand. I know she's killed people in a previous episode, but a bomb is impersonal. So, this is a sudden new thing for her. And Sam is right. They're just kids and they're in over their head playing revolutionary and now murdering people. But people want to wield the word terrorist like a cudgel. Like if you use it, you can just mark someone like an animal and they don't have any more human rights. The show is clearly trying to communicate that it's not as simple as that. I'm not saying sympathize with like ISIS, but in this show, it's showing us how people can cross the line even when fighting for a right cause. Now, it's pretty clear I'm sympathetic to the cause Khali and the Flag Smashers are fighting for. They just, fighting for the refugees, fighting for their own human rights, their existence. So when Khali first bombed and killed innocent people, I thought it was kind of cheap. Like, oh yeah, of course, they couldn't keep them just be revolutionary freedom fighters. They have to turn them into violent terrorists. But when I sit back and kind of thought about it and try and overcome my own bias, I accepted that even though I don't like it, it's more realistic. How many revolutionaries that are willing to use force in real life are truly without blood on their hands? I'm not talking about peaceful protesters, right? I'm talking about revolutionaries who are already using force. They pretty much never get out of it without blood on their hand. And someone said in a comment, oh, how can anyone support the flag smashers when they've killed innocent people? And I pointed out, hey, even in real life, all revolutionaries have blood on their hand. And people still find ways to support revolutionaries. And seeing as this is a TV show, it's very easy for people to still support these people, even though, yes, they crossed the line, but they can still find them sympathetic. And he replied, not all the American revolutionaries never hurt anyone. And he was proving my point, and they don't even know it. First of all, the American revolutionaries definitely hurt people, even if you don't count the redcoats. They hurt loyalists who are just citizens who are arming themselves to fight back, from their point of view, terrorists. If the founding fathers of US lost, they would have been hung as terrorists. Even though, yeah, of course, I think their fight was righteous at the time. You can say the same thing about French saboteurs. If France was never liberated from the Nazis, they would have just gone down as terrorists. And Nico, the guy who Walker killed, at most, he's just guilty of attempted murder and being accessory to murder. The penalty for that is not death. And even if it is, which is not, the penalty is not to be killed like a dog in the street. That's extrajudicial killings, and that's why Walker is worse, in my eyes. Even putting aside Steve's legacy, even putting aside his status as Captain America, which is a big deal, he still wears a uniform, and he is held to a higher standard. I mean, like I said before, Khali and Walker are two sides of the same coin, right? They're using violence to get what they want. But the difference between them is legitimized force, because Walker is being backed by the government. So he needs to be more responsible, because the other one is already a criminal for what she's doing. Because Walker is authorized to use force, his actions have a very strict guideline, which this is far right outside of. And when he subdued him, while the unarmed man is begging for his life, he killed him on the streets. And here's another thing people aren't gonna want to hear. Walker's actions parallel what's happening with police brutality in the recent years in US and all over the world. Listen back to these lines.
We've been targeting civilians who've been helping Khali move from place to place.
He's going after civilians, not criminals, and he openly states it, and he has no problem with it. In episode 3, he lead a no-knock raid and say this.
Don't give him a second to delete, shred, or breathe.
You can see the parallels. The episode name is The World is Watching, and that's a phrase popularized by the anti-Vietnam War protests. And it's been reused again and again in anti-violence protests, including the recent Black Lives Matter protests. Walker's action parallel that of out-of-control violent cops. And that's why, sadly, I think in the next episode, he'll get away with it. There'll be a sham trial, and he will walk away. So this is gonna have to lead to Sam, as humble and respectful of Steve's legacy as he is, will have to pick up the mantle of Captain America, because he can't let it fall into the wrong hands. So that's all from me from now. Sorry about a serious episode, but if you liked it, leave a like and subscribe and ring that little bell so I can make more content like this. Because hey, I'm already always thinking too seriously about TV shows. Why not tell you guys about it? Because there's not a lot of room for humor in this episode. I'll leave you with a stupid little, be warned, dark humor thing I made. Peace.
When I was a kid, I was actually a Captain America fan.